religious form of fashion. I need life. Psalm 119, a very familiar verse, verse 71. And the writer writes these words: "It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes." I'll read that again. "It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes." Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 5, a very familiar story. And it reads, "And again he entered into Capernaum after some days, and it was noised that he was in the house. And straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them. And they came, and they come unto him, bringing one sick of the palsy, which was born of 4. And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof where he was. And when they had broken it up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sins be forgiven thee." And I want to focus on verses 4 and 5. "And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof where he was. And when they had broken it up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sins be forgiven thee." Thank God for the reading of his word. I want to talk a little bit today about by any means necessary.
Amen.
And I challenge you to look at 2 or 3 people around you and tell them, neighbor, I am so desperate for deliverance. I dare to tell somebody else that if I'm talking to you today. It's Hebrews chapter 10, verse 38, where the writer of Hebrews says, and plainly states, "Now the just shall live by faith.
Amen.
But if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him." And what the writer there is making known to each and every one of us is that in this walk with God, there's one thing that is simple and so evident. That is that sight has to be replaced by faith.
Amen.
And the reason that is necessary is because sight is always a place of comfort. It's a comfort zone for us. But when faith has to be activated, faith has a way of issuing a challenge to all of us. And that challenge being, as Minister Milner made reference to earlier, that when I recognize I can't do it, I recognize that nobody around me can do it, I'm trusting that God will and he can. And this becomes important because anytime you're walking with God and you're able to look with your natural faculties and see that God is working for you and see that God is with you, it's easy to praise, it's easy to worship, it's easy to do anything in that realm. But it's something different when you look around and you realize that I can't deal with what I'm dealing with my natural senses. And it's going to take a higher force to get me out of this. And so the walk with God, pretty much like the disciples after the ascension of Jesus, is one where you have to deal with God by faith, knowing that he is no longer on the outside, walking in a realm where you can actually see him like the disciples did. But now I have to come to the understanding that he lives within me and is with me all the time. And